Literature really shapes us, how we think, our ethics. This chapter is called Chapter 16. The Scarecrow takes time to think. Boy, does he need to take some time. It seems to me, began the Scarecrow, when all were again assembled in the throne room, that the girl Ginger is quite right in claiming to be queen. And if she is right, then I'm wrong. And we have no business to be occupying her palace. All right, so I'll be honest, I don't know if this is working. Excellent, yes. We're done here. He was most certainly wrong. And that, I think, is the biggest revelation this character has had in his entire story arc. Which is nice to know that he's finally grown. He's finally grown. But you were king until she came, said the Wobblebug, strutting up and down with his hands in his pockets. So it appears to me she is the interloper instead of you. Especially as we have just conquered her and put her to flight, said the Pumpkinhead, as he raised his hands to turn his face toward the Scarecrow. Have we really conquered her? Said the Scarecrow quietly. Have we really conquered her? Asked the Scarecrow quietly. Look out of the window and tell me what you see. Tip ran to the window and looked out. The palace is surrounded by a double row of girl soldiers, he announced. I thought so, returned the Scarecrow. We are truly their prisoners, as we were before the mice frightened them from the palace. My friend is right, said the Tin Woodsman, who had been polishing his breast with a bit of chaos leather. Ginger is still queen, and we are her prisoners. All right, so this is a bad situation. But I hope she cannot get at us, exclaimed the Pumpkinhead with a shiver of fear. She has threatened to make tarts of me, you know. Yep, Pop-Tarts. Don't worry, said the Tin Woodman. It cannot matter greatly. If you stay shut up in here, you will spoil away in time anyway. A good tart is far more admirable than a decayed intellect. Whew. Yeah, the goal of that Tin Woodman. You know, if we hadn't read this second book, we could have kind of made up in our heads that the characters all lived, well enough. But sometimes, the more you know, the more miserable you have to be. Very true, agreed the Scarecrow. Thank you. Oh dear, moaned Jack. What an unhappy lot is mine. Why, dear father, did you make me out of tin or even out of straw? Oh, why, dear father, did you not make me out of tin or even a straw so that I would keep indefinitely? Shucks, returned Tib indignantly. You ought to be glad I made you at all. Then he added reflectively, everything has to come to an end sometime. These are both great views. But I beg to remind you, broke in the Wobblebug, who had a distressed look in his bulging round eyes, that this terrible Queen Ginger suggested making a goulash of me. Me, the only highly magnified and thoroughly educated Wobblebug in the wide, wide world. I think it was a brilliant idea, remarked the Scarecrow approvingly. Ooh. I'm gonna lose it. Don't you imagine he would make a better soup? A better soup? Asked the Tin Woodman, turning toward his friend. Well, perhaps, acknowledged the Scarecrow. Yeah, why are we discussing eating our friends? It's not a thing you do. The Wobblebug groaned. Me too. I can see in my mind's eye, he said mournfully, the goats eating small pieces of my dear comrade, the Tin Woodman, where my soup is being cooked on a bonfire built of the sawhorse and Jack Pumpkinhead's body, and the Queen Ginger watches me boil while she feeds the flames with my friend, the Scarecrow. Oh, that's dark. This morbid picture casts a gloom over the entire party, making them restless and anxious. Okay, let's focus on a plan here, not on the gloom. That's my advice. It cannot happen for some time, said the Tin Woodman, trying to speak cheerfully, for we shall be able to keep Ginger out of the palace until she manages to break down the doors.
And in the meantime, I am liable to starve to death. And so is the Wobblebug,
announced Tip. That is the highly magnified Wobblebug, thoroughly educated to you, Tip. You gotta say his credentials. Like Dr. Tony Fauci, you don't just call him the Tonys. Doctor, you tell him Dr. Tones, not Tony, you know? Well, as for me, said the Wobblebug, I think that I could live for some time on Jack Pumpkinhead. What? Not that I prefer pumpkins for food, but I believe they are somewhat nutritious, and Jack's head is large and plump. How heartless, exclaimed the Tin Woodman, greatly shocked. Didn't he, like, a few seconds earlier just talk about eating someone? So, are we cannibals, let me ask, or are we faithful friends? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I see very clearly that we cannot stay in this place, said the Scarecrow with decision. So let us end this mournful talk and try to discover a means to escape. I'm still thinking about how this book got published. At this suggestion, they all gathered eagerly around the throne, wherein was seated the Scarecrow. As Tip sat down upon the stool, there fell from his pocket a pepper box, which rolled upon the floor. "Oh, what is this?" asked Nick the Chopper, picking up the box.
Be careful. That is my powder of life. Don't spill it, for it is nearly gone.
And what is the powder of life? Inquired the Scarecrow as Tip replaced the box carefully in his pocket.
It's some magical stuff old Mumbai got from a crooked sorcerer, explained the boy. And she brought Jack to life with it, and afterwards I used it to bring the sawhorse to life. I guess it will make anything live that is sprinkled with it, but there's only one dose left.
Excuse me, my voice. You wonder if you try to talk to me during the week. Nope, my voice is gone because of these voices. You can donate to the Wonderful Lizard to fund my vocal cord surgery, if you'd like. And then that is very precious, said the Tin Woodman. It is indeed, agreed the Scarecrow. It may prove our best means of escape from our difficulties. I believe I will think for a few minutes, so I will thank you, my friend Tip, to go get your knife and rip this heavy crown from my forehead. Wait, it's attached? Tip soon cuts the stitches that fastened the crown to the Scarecrow's head, and the former monarch of the Emerald City removed it with a sigh of relief and hung it on a peg beside the throne. This is my last memento of royalty, he said, and I am glad to get rid of it. The former king of the city, who was named Pastoria, lost his crown to the Wonderful Lizard, who passed it along to me. Now the girl Ginger claims it. I sincerely hope it will not give her a headache. Well, I have a headache, I can tell you that. I kindly thought which I great admire, said the Tin Woodman, nodding approvingly. And I will indulge in a quiet think. Thank you for not doing the noisy thing. Continued the Scarecrow, lying back on his throne. The others remained as silent and still as possible, so as not to disturb him, for all had great confidence in the extraordinary brains of the Scarecrow. And after what seemed like a very long time to the anxious watchers, the thinker sat up, looked upon his friends with the most whimsical expression, and said, My brains work beautifully today. I am quite proud of them. All right, let's cut to the chase. What'd you think of? Now listen. If we attempt to escape through the doors of the palace, we shall surely be captured. Thanks for that. And we can't escape through the ground. There is only one thing to be done. We must escape through the air. He paused to note the effect of these words, but all his hearers seemed puzzled and unconvinced. The wonderful lizard escaped in a balloon, he continued. We don't know how to make a balloon, of course, but any sort of thing that can fly through the air can carry us easily. So, I suggest that my friend, the Tin Woodman, who is a skillful mechanic, shall build some sort of machine with good strong wings to carry us, and our friend Tip can bring the thing to life with his magical powder. Bravo, cried Nick Chopper. What splendid brains, murmured Jack. Really quite clever, said the educated Wobblebug.
I believe it can be done,
declared Tip.
That is, if the Tin Woodman is equal to making the thing.
The thing here is capitalized, if you wondered. What are we making this out of? I will do my best, said Nick cheerfully. As a matter of fact, I do not often fail in what I attempt, but the thing will have to be built on the roof of the palace so it can rise comfortably into the air. To be sure, said the Scarecrow. Then let us search through the palace, continued the Tin Woodman, and carry all the material we find to a roof, where I will begin my work. First, however, said the Pumpkinhead, I beg you will release me from this horse, and make another leg to work with. For my present condition, I am no use of myself to anyone. So, the Tin Woodman knocked a mahogany center table into pieces with his axe, and fitted one of his legs, which was beautifully carved, onto the body of Jack Pumpkinhead, who was very proud of the acquisition. It seems strange to me, he said, as he watched the Tin Woodman work, that my left leg should be the most elegant and substantial part of me. That proves you are unusual, returned the Scarecrow, and I'm convinced that only people worthy of consideration in this world are the unusual ones. For the common folks are like the leaves of the trees, and live and they die unnoticed. Spoken like a true philosopher, cried the Wobblebug, as he assisted the Tin Woodman to set Jack up upon his feet. I don't even know what's wise and what's dumb now. This has just fried my brain. How do you feel now? Asked Tip, watching the Pumpkinhead stump around on his new leg. As good as new, answered Jack joyfully, and quite ready to assist you all to escape. Then let us go to work, said the Scarecrow, in a business-like tone. That was his business-like tone. So, glad to be doing anything that might lead to the end of their captivity, the friends separated to wander all over the palace, in searching of a fitting material to use in construction of their aerial machine. End of chapter.